Welcome to another Wavelength series. My name is Waveney and I am your leadership mindset coach. It feels so good to be back. Happy New Year. Happy 2026. I know it has been, oh my goodness, over a month, almost 2 months. I took some time off. I had a few things going on. For Christmas, I was getting myself all prepped and ready for my 2026 Your Best Self workshop. If you attended, thank you so much for attending. Hope to see you next year. If you didn't, then this is your invitation to attend. So what was happening really quick before I get into the topic is that Your Best Self is a workshop that I hosted. I hosted it in 2025 and again in 2026. And the idea behind that actually came in 2020. I hosted my first workshop and it was called Intention 2020. But we all know what happened in 2020, right? After what was it? March, everything just went haywire. And so I hadn't hosted that workshop in a while. And so in 2025, I revived it under the name Your Best Self. And then in 2026, this year, January, I hosted it again. I also, in December, I had a webinar called Stop the Overthinking, Start Deciding from Wisdom. So some of you may have seen that webinar, may have been on that webinar. If you were, great. If you didn't, then you missed out. So many things going on for me. But I'm back. I'm here. And so, yeah, what I wanted to talk to you about is the direction where I'm taking the content in 2026. So over the course of my work, I have come to realize that leadership isn't just about a title, right? It isn't just about a title. It isn't about working harder. It isn't about the qualifications that you have. It isn't about the skills that you have, because you can have all those things and still feel inadequate and still feel like you're not doing a great job and really still not living up to the expectation of what I call an influential leader, right? And it's not to say that leadership is a one and done. It's not something that you tick off today, like I did this, and it's done. It's not about that. It's really about a work in progress. But leadership, what I've come to realize is leadership is really about identity. It is about identity. It is not about what you are doing. It is about who you're being. And so I really want to take this year, I want you to take you this year on this journey and focus really. My work will be focusing on identity, but specifically 3 main pillars. And I'm going to share those with you right now. So the first pillar is self-leadership. Now, when I talk about self-leadership, when we say self-leadership, I'm really talking about that discipline, those habits, those behaviors, those patterns that allow you to be successful, that allow you to lead yourself, right? Especially when things are challenging and when things get uncomfortable. Because let's face it, right? It is so easy to be on when everything is great. People who don't have challenges, they really don't develop that muscle for, I don't think that leadership is complete, right? working in an environment that everything is great isn't an indicator that you're successful, right? And so leadership often breaks down when it's challenging. I just mentioned COVID, right? And the whole world saw people breaking down. In particular, companies, the way they laid off people, the way they communicated that news, the way they treated people. So you can see that. You can tell someone by the challenge, how they deal with challenges, and I'm talking about leadership, how they deal with challenges, how they deal with pressure, how they deal when things are uncomfortable. And so you could have the role, you could have the experience, you could have the skills, you could have all the degrees and the thermometer, but that doesn't mean that you are a great leader. That doesn't mean that you can lead yourself. That doesn't mean that you can withstand the pressure, right? And self-leadership is really about not abandoning your structure and your values when the discomfort and the challenges show up. Because if you can't lead yourself, right, you won't be able to lead others, and that is a critical element. It looks like when that email comes in and it's maybe a difficult or challenging email, that you don't buckle under pressure, that you don't buckle under that urgency, right? It's about being responsive rather than reactive, and that is self-leadership. You're not pulled into the circumstances. You are standing steady in spite of the circumstances, right? And this is something that all leaders need to master. So the second pillar that I want to talk about is emotional mastery. And this is huge. I think a lot of the issues in the workplace, many of it stems from people not understanding themselves and their emotional range and their triggers. And emotional mastery is really about understanding your inner world, right? Your emotions, your triggers, the stories that you tell yourself, the limiting beliefs, the limiting decisions. And it could look something like this. Perhaps earlier on in your career, or maybe before you came into that role, whenever you had a manager that said to you, you know what, I don't know that you are the right fit for the job, or I don't know that you can do that job, or maybe you heard that this person said that about you, someone in senior, higher up, right? Someone senior. And this, you internalize it, you call all your friends, you vent, and you internalize it, but you haven't let that go. And that story is quietly running behind the scenes. And because it's quietly running behind the scenes, you don't understand, you don't realize that this is the reason that you are behaving the way you do. And it shows up like you're micromanaging. It shows up like you over explaining, you overcompensating, you start to over function, you're staying really late, you start proving everything you have to prove, because in the background that story is still running. You have not let go, you have not resolved that. And this is how it shows up. Many times at work, the way people react is out of fear. When people react like that, it's out of fear. And because you don't want to fail. Because really what it is about you don't want to fail. And because you don't want to fail, you are doing all those things. And so this happens all the time. I've seen it so many times. I've seen it. When I recognize it within myself, and it's so empowering to recognize these stories or these things that people may have said to us, and recognize and understand the impact that they have had, so that we can fix them, so that we can let it go, so that we can become aware of how they are impacting us and how they are impacting the way that we communicate and how they're impacting our relationship with our team, our peers, our boss, right? And I want you to really think about that. This is emotional mastery. And in all that is also emotional intelligence. This is emotional intelligence, right? Many times people think that emotional intelligence is just, the definition is becoming aware of you and also the emotions of other people. But what I've found is we have to fix us first, or we have to become, I shouldn't say fix, but we have to become really aware of these stories that are running in the background of our mind that really impact how we show up as leaders. And it's not to say that you're not successful. Success will come with it, but at some point you will hit a ceiling. At some point it will fracture and it will damage the relationships around you, your communication, if you don't resolve that. And so this is where we're going this year. All right. I don't want that to be a cost for it to cost you anymore. And so the third pillar is influence. So influence isn't about skills. Influence isn't about authority, right? It isn't about qualifications or experience. Influence is really about trust, right? It's about people trusting you when you're not in the room. It's about presence. It's about the ability to show up. It's about who you embody. You know this because I am sure there are people that you know who don't have a title, that people seem to follow them. Typically, they show up in the workplace as persons who are outspoken. They're the ones who would bring things to your attention. And I like people like that, right? I like people like that. Sometimes in certain environments, individuals like that are not favored because they're persons in authority or the persons in leadership, they're threatened by that. And influence is a great skill. And usually at that level, when you see it in line level employees, it's in the raw form, right? It's in the raw form. But also many persons tend to think that they will gain influence by their title. It doesn't work like that. People don't follow you because you have a title. If they do, just because you have a title, it's because of fear, or it's because of fear, really, that they're afraid that they will get in trouble. But influence comes down to identity. Who are you being? And my job is to help you. Where I'm going this year is to help you to embody that. So this is who you are consistently, that you have that influence. And you can think about the persons, those leaders who has influenced your life, and you can see and you can notice that they hold a very consistent characteristic. They may hold several consistent characteristics, but chief among them is trust. People must trust you. People must trust you. They must trust you. And so this is the essence of where we're going this year. These are what the topics will be about. It's really about self-leadership, emotional mastery, and influence. And so I wanted to come on here, and I wanted this very first episode to sort of be the platform or the foundation, and to sort of prep you for what is to come. I'm really excited about it because I am passionate about this work. I'm passionate about this work. I believe that anyone could be a leader. I believe that anyone could be a leader. Leaders are not born, leaders are made, and they are made through the refining and the commitment. It's a commitment. It's a commitment. And they're made through the commitment to the identity of being a leader. It has to be about your identity. It has to be about who you are being, not what you are doing. And so self-leadership, so you can direct yourself under pressure. Emotional mastery, so all stories don't run your decisions. And influence, because so that people follow you because of who you are, not about what you control. And so I'm here. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think about this video. And I will see you on another wavelength series. Bye.